ओम वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। ओम श्री महागणपतये नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। ओम पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्धदामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसां पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुः सुरासुरगणाः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। Namaste everyone once again.
Namaste Guruji, pranam.
Pranam. Namaste. Prakrite kriyamānāni gunai karmāni sarvashah ahankara vimūಢātmā kartāhamiti manyate. So this is the 27th shloka of the 3rd chapter we are seeing. And in the context of this shloka and also the next shloka, we were in the last class discussing about the two eyes, right? The lower eye, that is ahankara, and the higher eye, the atma. Atma, which is of the nature of pure consciousness, Chaitanya Sarupa. And I mentioned also that these two slokas are very, very important from the entire Bhagavad Gita teaching point of view. And I also said that in the context of Vedanta, the word ahankara is used in the sense of body-mind-sense complex and not in the sense of ego. Even though from a Dharma Shastra point of view, ahankara can be translated as ego. And the next point we saw was that this the body-mind-sense complex, that is this ahankara, is inert by nature, it is jadam, and it is enlivened by consciousness or chaitanyam borrowed from the atma. Therefore, the body-mind-sense complex is the blessed principle and Atma is the blessing principle, the consciousness principle. Thus, every individual is a mixture of the blessed body-mind complex as well as the blessing Atma. We also saw the main differences between Ahankara and Atma. Just to recollect, Ahankara is ever a samsari and subject to ups and downs, happiness, unhappiness, birth, old age, diseases, death, etc. But Atma is never a samsari and therefore not subject to all these experiences. Now, Vedanta gives all of us an option. It says you can claim any one of these two as your true self or your real self. You have a choice. If you choose Ahankara as your real self, you must be prepared for samsara and all its consequent experiences. If you want to avoid all these ups and downs, happy, unhappy experiences, etc., there is only one way. You have to choose the higher I as your real self. And when I choose the higher self, when I discover my higher self, even though the lower self will continue to subsist, but the problems of the lower self will become insignificant. It will not go away, but they will become insignificant. So a jnani is one who is established in his higher I. He also has the lower I. The body is there, the mind is there, everything is there. And they will go through their karmas. He will use the body, mind, sense complex to accomplish a lot of things. At the same time, he may not be able to accomplish a lot of things also. There will be ups and downs in his life also. He will also be subject to all old age diseases, etc. But those ups and downs of the lower I will not disturb him because he has discovered something greatly wonderful. He has discovered his higher self and he abides in that higher self. He identifies himself with the higher self instead of the lower self. So in the 27th, this 27th verse which we are seeing talks about an ignorant man working in the world, centered on ahankara. And the next verse, the 28th verse, will talk about a wise man working in the world. And all this time centered on the Atma. As I said, the wise man is not affected by ups and downs. At best, all these ups and downs and all will be like small pinpricks for him. This is the fundamental difference between a jnani working in the world and a ajnani working in the world. And this difference Krishna wants to talk about. In this 27th verse, Krishna talks about an ajnani who is caught in ahankara. So he gives him a special title. Ahankara Vimudhatma is the title he gives to all samsaris. They are so much absorbed in the ahankara, in their own body, mind, sense complex, that they have not discovered their own higher self, and therefore every problem of ahankara is vastly magnified. Therefore, ajnani who is ahankara vimudaha means deluded, lost in the lower I, is the topic of the 27th verse. And as I said, 28th verse, Krishna will talk about jnani for whom ahankara and its problems, if not absent, they are insignificant. This is the difference between jnani and ajnani. Now, in this verse, there are certain technical words which we have to clearly define and understand. As I said, these are all jargons, Vedantic jargons. We need to understand these technical words. The first word is prakritihi. Every word has got a specific meaning in this context, because the words which are, there are many of them are common words, but we have to understand these words in the context in which they are used. Okay. So Prakriti is the first word. And which has got different meanings in different contexts. In this context, the word Prakriti means the basic matter principle. It is also referred to in Vedanta as Maya. So in this sloka, Prakriti means the basic matter, which you may call the subtlest form of energy. So Maya also is a word used. So Prakriti is equal to Maya is equal to basic matter. This is the first technical word. The next word we have to note is Gunaha. The word Gunaha also has got several meanings in different contexts. But in this context, the word Gunaha means product, Karyam, Vikaraha. So Prakriti means what? Prakriti means matter and Gunaha means product. So Prakriti Gunaha means product of matter, material object. And what is that? Any inert material in the creation is the product of matter. Be it a flask, a rock, sand, even trees, plants, animals, this body, mind, sense complex, all can be called as Prakriti Gunaha. They are all product of matter. Clock is a Prakriti Guna, book is a Prakriti Guna. So whatever we see around us are all Prakriti Guna, material. And material is what? That which is born out of matter. Matter, Karyam, material. Karyam here means a product. So even though the word Prakriti Guna means an inert material in the creation, in this context, Krishna keeps the body-mind complex in his mind because body-mind complex is an inert material and therefore it is a product of Prakriti. In fact, Tattva Bodha students who are here, you may remember, we have seen Trigunatmika Maya, Maya having three gunas. Mind you, there the word guna means different. In Tattva Bodha, we saw Trigunatmika means Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, and Tamo Guna. So the very word guna had a different meaning in Tattva Bodha and it is interpreted differently here by Adi Shankara in his commentary. And from this Maya alone, the five subtle elements were born. This also we have seen in Tattva Bodha. And thereafter, from the five subtle elements, the five gross elements were born. And also, from the five subtle elements, the mind and other organs are created. From the gross elements, this physical body is created. We saw all these details. In fact, I showed you, Tattva Bodha students, a beautiful chart presenting the entire creation process. Chaturvimshati Tattva. Chaturvimshati Tattva, the creation of that 24 elements and elementals. So we saw there that from the individual sattva guna, the jnanendriyas are created. And from the total sattva guna, gross sattva guna, the macro sattva guna, mind is created, etc. If you remember all these topics, those students, it will be good. Even if you don't remember, it doesn't matter. Just remember this much. In this context, the body-mind-sense complex is product of Prakriti, therefore inert matter is Jadam. And even though the body-mind-sense complex is inert by itself, now we see them, they are sentient. This body, mind, they are all alive. Because of what? Because of consciousness borrowed from the Atma. Just recall the fan example which I gave in the last class. Just as the fan is now capable of moving because of the energy, the electrical energy being converted into mechanical energy, the fan is using borrowed form of electricity. And that is why it appears to function, it appears to move around. Move around means rotate. And this Prakriti guna hai, that is this body-mind complex alone, is called Ahankara. Therefore, the final meaning of Prakriti guna is Ahankara. That is the body-mind complex with borrowed consciousness. This is the meaning of Prakriti guna hai. We have to understand in the context of this sloka. So now with that understanding, look at the first line. Krishna says, Karmani prakritehe gunaihi kriyamanani. All actions are performed by Prakriti gunas alone. That means all actions are performed by the body, mind, sense complex alone. And in fact, we can say that all actions are performed by Ahankara alone. Ahankara, mind you, we must remember here it is referring to body, mind, complex. And Krishna says Sarvashaha means what? Under all conditions. So under all conditions, Ahankara alone can act. And what is the corollary of that? When we say Ahankara alone can act, that means what? Every individual is a combination of Ahankara and Atma. So when we say Ahankara alone can act, means Atma does not do any action. Consciousness does not do any action. Again, we should recall the example of the light, right? Just as the light is there, pervading everything, pervading all actions, be it my talk or you are listening, you are seeing the screen, you are taking notes, you are asking questions, for all that, light is required. Light also illumines inactions also, like if someone is asleep in the class, the light will illumine that also. If that person happens to go to sleep, by keeping the video on, everybody can see. Therefore, light illumines all activities or even inactivity, but itself does not do any action of its own. It does not talk, it does not listen, it does not take notes, etc. The all-pervading light enables all activities to be done by Ahankara, but by itself it does not do any action. Same is the case with Atma, consciousness. And that's why in the Shastra, they use the light example for explaining what consciousness means. Because light is something that we can perceive, we can relate to. Consciousness we cannot perceive and we cannot relate to. So the Shastra really struggles to explain what this consciousness is, what this Atma is. So they will use all examples, nearest example. No, there, even though no example can be 100% correct example for consciousness, but the nearest example, the best example possible under the circumstances, Shastra uses. Therefore, since light does not do any activity, can we say that light is not necessary and switch off the light? No. If there is no light, then no work will happen. In total darkness, we can't even see 1 feet away. Therefore, what? Even though light does not perform any action, but without light, no action can be performed. Similarly, without Atma, Ahankara cannot perform any action. At the same time, Atma itself does not do any action. And therefore, Krishna says, Sarvashaha. Under all condition, Ahankara alone does all action. And in the second line, Krishna says, Ahankara Vimudhatma. All the ignorant people are deluded by this Ahankara, this Karta Bhokta Ahankara. What do you mean by deluded? Being deluded by Ahankara means being lost in Ahankara, being carried away by Ahankara to such an extent that they do not have time to even think of what the higher real nature, what my higher real nature is, claiming which I can enjoy freedom. They don't have even the time. Therefore, Ahankara makes you get lost in karma, in actions. And that is why Krishna calls all these ignorant people Ahankara Vimudhatma. Their preoccupation with Ahankara, mind you, body, mind, sense complex. This Ahankara is so intense that it does not allow him to even ask the question, am I this miserable Ahankara or am I something more than this? In Bhajagovinda, Adi Shankara raises these questions to help us to contemplate. Kastvam koham kuta ayata hai, kame janani kome tata hai. From where have I come? Who am I? Who is my mother? Who is my father? And this is what Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi also used to advocate. Ask yourself, who am I? That is the meditation he gives. Ask yourself, who am I? You will finally get the answer. But unfortunately, we have no time or inclination to reflect on these basic questions. It is like watching a movie, We enter the cinema hall, lights are on, and we see a large screen, 70 screen or whatever it is, right? Which is white in color. And I realized that the screen is there, that is the truth of this entire cinema. But soon afterward, the movie starts. When the movie starts, I get so absorbed in the characters of the movie and what is going on, etc. And who are nothing. They are just projections, not even real. They are only lights and shadows. But I get carried away so much by the movie that I lose sight of the screen. And when the movie is over, suddenly I realize that the truth of the movie was the screen. And without that screen, I would not have been able to see and enjoy the movie at all. That is what is delusion. Getting totally lost in the movie without realizing that the reality of the movie is the screen. Therefore, Krishna says, Ahankara vimudhatma, caught in the lower self, karta aham iti manyate. This Ajnani claims that I am the karta ahankara, I am the bhokta ahankara, instead of claiming aham brahmasmi. In fact, there are beautiful mantras in the Shastras, in the Vedas, which repeatedly bring this to our attention, trying to do away with the delusion that we have about this entire world, about our body, mind, sense complex. In fact, we find one mantra in Agamarshana Suktam. Agamarshana Suktam. Agamarshana Suktam is normally to be chanted while taking bath, especially river and all. That's a beautiful suktam. What is the mantra? Adram jvalati jyotirasmi, jyotirjvalati brahmahamasmi, yohamasmi brahmahamasmi, ahamasmi brahmahamasmi, ahamevaham majuhomi swaha. See, right in the morning when you are taking bath, you are meditating on aham brahmasmi, aham brahmasmi, aham brahmasmi. Repeatedly, when this goes into your mind dwells on this, it will move away from this identification with this ahankara. All beautiful mantras which tell you to claim what you are, your higher self. But this Vimudhatma literally translate means super idiot. There are two words, Mudaha and Vimudha. And Swami Paramarthanandaji gives a very beautiful example to differentiate between them. He says, it's a very nice story, interesting one. He said two persons who wanted to drive a nail in the wall. So one person took the nail, put the nail upside down. That is, the sharp point was facing him and the nail head was touching the wall. When he saw that the head is on the other side and the sharp portion is facing him, he asked the other person, who manufactured this nail? They do not know how to manufacture properly. The nail head should be on my side and the sharp point should be towards the wall. This was his comment. Then the assistant said, you are wrong. The nail has been manufactured properly only. It is you who does not know how to use the nail. This nail is not meant for this wall. This nail is meant for the opposite wall. You are a fool and you are unnecessarily criticizing the manufacturer. So you take a nail which is fit for this wall. So if one is Mudaha, another is Vimudaha. You can decide who is Mudaha and who is Vimudaha. Visheshena Mudaha, Vimudaha. So Krishna says, you are not an ordinary fool, Mudaha. You are an extraordinary fool, Vimudaha. So ahankara vimudhatma karta aham iti manyate. This is Ajnani's action. This is Ajnani's take on the world. Then what about Jnani? The question. We will read the next sloka. Tattva vittu mahabaho gunakarma vibhagayo guna guneshu vartante iti matvana sajjate. Anmaya of this sloka is Tu ye mahabaho gunakarma vibhagayo tattvavit Gunaha guneshu vartante iti matva na sajjate. Tu, whereas, he Mahabaho, O Arjuna, Gunakarma Vibhagayoho, of the distinction between body, mind, sense complex and their actions. Guna and karma. Guna means what? We have seen body, mind, prakriti guna, right? And karma is their actions. Tattvavid, the knower of the truth. Guna hai, senses, mind, and organs of action. Guneshu, with reference to the objects. Vartante, engage themselves. Iti matva, knowing this, having this knowledge. Na sajjate, is not bound, he remains detached. So the meaning of this sloka, simple meaning, whereas, O Arjuna, the knower of the truth, knowing the distinction between the body, mind, sense complex and the action, knowing that the senses, mind, and organs of action engage themselves with reference to their respective objects alone, is not bound and remains detached. So an Ajnani has been talked about. He is caught up in his lower self. He is ignorant of his higher self. Not only ignorant, even when he knows that there is a higher self, he does not want to claim that also. He will not, first of all, he will not know himself. And even if he is taught, he will not still not know. Neither he claims by himself, nor does he want to claim when somebody wants to help him. That is an Ajnani's lot. He will remain in that throughout his life. What about Jnani? We have already seen Jnani also has got Ahankara. We should be very clear in that. A Jnani has also got Ahankara because what is the definition of Ahankara? We gave body, mind, sense complex, which is live, blessed by Atma. So a Jnanis have bodies determined by their prarabdha. A Jnani has got all faculties that an Ajnani has. A Jnani also has a mind, but the mind can be a beautiful mind. It is a beautiful mind. Krishna himself will describe later. I don't know, 12th chapter, if I'm not wrong. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna eva cha nirmamo nirahankara samadukkas sukhakshami. Very beautiful. One sloka, he tells what a jnani is. Adveshta sarvabhu, he does not hate anybody. Karuna evacha, full of compassion. Nirmamaha, nirahankaraha. He does not claim anything to be mama. There is no mamakara. This is mine, that is mine. According to him, everything is mine only. So there is nothing special. This is mine, that is mine, he is mine, she is mine. Nirahankara, we have just seen that only. He doesn't have ahankara, identification with the body, mind, sense complex. Samadukka sukha kshami. Happiness and unhappiness, he looks at them as the same. Kshami here means who has got titiksha, who has got lot of forbearance, lot of patience, lot of tolerance. And so Jnani is compassionate, and because of compassion, he has got a beautiful mind, because compassion is a beautiful mental attribute. That mind is a healthy and sane mind which does not have raga, dvesha, kama, krodha problems. Such a mind is a light mind, a weightless mind, carries no burden. Therefore, a jnani also has got body-mind complex, which means a jnani has got ahankara. But what happens to the jnani is, since he has discovered the higher self, the Atma, the discovery of Atma makes ahankara lighter. It is no longer toxic ahankara. It is no longer poisonous ahankara. It is no longer burdensome ahankara. And in fact, Shastra gives an example, and I think Adi Shankara in Atma Bodha also quotes this. Such an ahankara is compared to Dugdha Bijavat. Dugdha Bijavat means a roasted seed. When a seed is roasted, the seed is not destroyed. It is very much there. We can even use the roasted seed. Sometimes, very tasty also when you roast and then eat, right? But a roasted seed cannot germinate. We cannot sow a roasted seed and expect it to become a plant, to sprout. Ahankar, Jnani's ahankara is like that. Very much there. But it will not have punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. So, a Jnani's ahankara will do everything. It will eat, it will talk, it will travel. It's a functional ahankara. But it has lost its capacity to germinate into samsara. So that is why it is a non-binding ahankara. It has become an alankara. Beautifully, so Swamiji says, ahankara for a jnani is a alankara, decoration. And he gives an example, beautiful example. Ahankara becoming alankara is indicated by Lord Shiva having snake in his neck as bhushanam, ornament. The snake, which is a frightening thing, is an alankara for the Lord. So the frightening snake signifies ahankara for a normal ajnani, but the same frightening ahankara snake will become an alankara, an ornament, a decoration for a jnani. And that is said here. Let us look at the sloka. So, having talked about an ajnani in the previous sloka and to highlight the difference in the case of a jnani, Krishna says two, whereas he said ajnani is a ahankara vimudhatma. So here he says, whereas he Mahabaho, O Arjuna, tattvavit. Tattvavit means a jnani or knower of the truth. Sorry, excuse me. Literally, tattvavit is knower of the truth, but a jnani. We can take it as a jnani. But the word tattvam can be split into two. It can be split in two words. Tat and tvam can be split, right? Tat tvam asi, you are that. So there, tat and tvam are two words. But the same word tattvam here should not be split as two words, but read as one word. Tat as a word and tvam as a suffix, which is tattvam, the reality. So tattvavit means the one who knows the reality. And reality of what? Guna karma vibhagayoho. Here also we should be careful. The word guna has the same meaning as we have seen prakriti guna hai. talked about in the previous verse. Product of basic matter, the body, mind, sense complex or ahankara. So here also the word guna means ahankara, which is otherwise called karta, doer. And karma means action. So the division between ahankara, the body, mind, sense complex, and karma, its action, this difference, because these are two different things. The jnani clearly knows. How do we understand that? This confusion between the body, mind, sense complex and the actions done by the body, mind, sense complex pervades the mind of all ajnanis. And that is why this ahankara or ahamkarta knowledge comes. I am the doer. Even if you identify yourself with body, mind, sense complex, you must understand that the actions done by the body, mind, sense complex are different than the body, mind, sense complex. Many times we get this confused. So that means what? All the karmas means all actions belong to ahankara, body mind complex alone, and no karma belongs to atma. This knowledge is clear to a jnani because he has identified himself with a higher self. We can recall the example of the few classes ago I gave, the light falling on the hand. I can move if I move the hand, the light does not move. It cannot move. Light is pervading all over. It is nitya, sarvagata, sthanuhu, achaloyam, sanatana. Same is the case with Atma. Even when we talk about rebirth, it is ahankara which travels from one place to another. But Atma can never have a rebirth because Atma is all pervading. It is eternal. You can be born only if you die. Atma never dies, so it can't be born. Therefore, a jnani is one who has understood that all karmas belong to ahankara alone and not Atma. And this division, this distinction he knows. Therefore, he also knows that ahankara cannot give up action because as long as ahankara is there, being a karta, it will have to perform one action or the other. You can give up one set of action only to be replaced by another set of actions. If a person in grihastha gives up grihastha and takes up sannyasa ashrama, the actions remaining the same, only the nomenclature will change. He will no longer call his residence a house, a griham, but he will say an ashram. Previously, he would have had a cup or a glass. Now he will have a kamandalu. Previously, he will say, I have lunch, I have dinner. Now he will say, I will have bhiksha. That's all. Only all these nomenclatures change. You can change the words, but you cannot give up action. A jnani, a sannyasi has to as much eat as he was as a grihastha. Body is all the same. Therefore, at ahankara level, a jnani knows that the actions will have to continue. Therefore, he does not resist. He allows the ahankara to work in the world depending upon the type of ashrama he is. If you are a sannyasi, do all the activities which is fitting for that. If you are a grihastha, better do grihastha's duty. Grihastha has to earn. He has to support a family. He has to support to some extent the society also. A grihastha cannot sit and do japa the whole day. Therefore, he has to do what he has to do. All this Jnani understands very well. Therefore, the Jnani accepts the nature of Ahankara and and allows Ahankara to have its own life. And while he allows the Ahankara to go through its life governed by Prarabdha, what does he remember? What does he understand? Krishna here beautifully says, Gunaihi guneshu vartante, gunaha guneshu vartante. We have seen that Prakriti Guna is equal to body-mind complex, is equal to Ahankara, which is material in nature, is a product of matter. And this body-mind sense complex, this Ahankara, engages itself with the world. And what is the nature of the world? The world is also Prakriti Guna, a product of matter. Therefore, Gunaha Guneshu Vartante, this body, mind, sense complex, a product of matter, engages with the world, which is also product of matter. Ahankara has got three gunas, being material in nature. Even if we take the Trigunatmika Maya definition. The world has also got three gunas. As I said, Tattva Bodha, we have seen all these things. And this Ahankara and the world will eternally interact. We cannot stop the interaction between Ahankara and the world. And this interaction is going to necessarily produce what? Pleasure and pain, happiness and unhappiness. There may be some interactions which will be welcome, but many interactions which will not be welcome. But just because it is not welcome, I cannot try to escape from the world. That's what Swami Paramathanandaji says. If you want to avoid people in the city, go to Rishikesh. Once upon a time, that's what people used to do. In fact, even now, people, just I realized when I went to Ooty recently. During summer vacation or sometime in the year, you are so busy with so many things in the place where you live, you want a break from that. So once upon a time, people used to go to hill stations and, calm and quiet atmosphere, nice weather, and they used to rejuvenate themselves and come back, recharge batteries. Similarly, earlier, many people would go to places like Rishikesh and all that. It was once upon a time, Rishikesh was known as a very quiet place. But today you go and see all these Rishikesh or, all these hill stations and things like that. Full of Rishikesh, especially full of sannyasis, ashrams, people, traffic, commercial shops, etc. You can't avoid them. Swamiji says he once went to Uttarkashi for a camp. Uttarkashi is beyond Rishikesh. You have to go 4,000 feet high from the sea level. Interior of Himalayas. And that place also, many people go for meditation. Many sannyasis go to Uttarkashi, live there. Very, very difficult to live. It's so cold. And because of the height, pressure is also very low. Your food would, cooking the food will be a difficult proposition. Very long time it will take to cook food. So he says when he went to Uttarakashi, he was expecting to see all kind of rishis and kutirs, ashrams, etc. All those things, Typically, we have got that visualization. All these, how Vishwamitra and Vasishta, their ashrams were there and all that. Then he says, surprisingly, he came across a poster of a film in which Amitabh Bachchan was starring. And he said that was welcoming them in Uttarakashi, this poster of Amitabh Bachchan. Then he says that they found that place was so crowded because this, some of you may remember, Tehri Dam, it's a controversy was there. That was being built, and so there were so many engineers, workers, movement of material was taking place, etc. And a small market was also there. Even a cinema theater was there. So much for the peace and tranquility of Uttarakashi. You go to Badrinath, the story is the same. Therefore, you cannot escape from the world. That is the reality we have to understand. So never think of running away from home to take sannyasa and all that. If your home has got one set of problems and you want to escape that, wherever you go, they will have another set of problems. Only the nature of problems will change, but the problems as such will remain. And that's why, people tired of the world and trying to escape, they take to drinks, drugs, etc. That also will not improve them. In fact, they may become more and more miserable. And over a period of time, they will become incapable of facing the world. Therefore, better accept the fact that I have to face the world, I have to interact with the world. And this a jnani understands and knows. Guna guneshu vartante. Ahankara will necessarily interact with the world. And why is a jnani able to allow this to happen? Because he knows even when ahankara is interacting, I have got a higher nature, which is of the nature of Chaitanyam, which is not affected by all these dramas going on. Just as the activities of the dream world do not affect the Veka, just as the various things happening in a movie screen does not affect the screen itself, similarly, the real higher I am not affected by either the karma or phalam. This fact, a jnani knows, he remembers, he assimilates, and he abides in that knowledge. So, the only way to discover your higher self so that you are ready to allow ahankara to interact with the world without being fuzzy. Discover your higher self, allow your ahankara to interact with the world, and don't get agitated over that. Iti matva, with this knowledge, na sajjate. A jnani is not bound, he remains detached. He has discovered liberation, freedom. He is able to look at his own ahankara objectively. He is able to look at his own body, mind, sense complex objectively. Because generally our problem is lack of this objectivity, especially when it comes to this body, mind complex, and also death. especially death. When somebody dies, we will speak philosophically that whoever is born has to die, right? So with respect to others, we can be very objective. We'll say Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu. What Bhagavad Gita also. It's a universal law for all. Whatever is born will have to die and all. Fantastic Gita Jnanam we will give. But when it comes to our own body or the bodies of our close ones, we lose this objectivity. We will cry, we will wail, oh, why did you leave me and go and all that, asking the dead body. As if the dead body is going to stand up and give a reason why it left you and went. That objectivity is lost. So Jnani looks at every body, every mind from the standpoint of this universal law. Jatasya dhruvor mrityu. Therefore, he does not protest against any event in life. Old age, he gracefully accepts. Separation, he gracefully accepts. Health deterioration, he accepts. Death also, whenever it comes, he knows the day my prarabdha is over, I will no longer be in this, occupying this body, mind, sense complex. I will move to another place. So in fact, in the case of Jnani, he knows that he will not move anywhere. So for him, death is what? Death is only an end of a long saga of Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Jananam. He will go and become one. He has already become one with Ishvara. At understanding level, as a Jivan Mukta hai, he has become one with Ishvara, one with the macrocosm. But after death, he will be Videha Mukta hai. Physically also, he will become one with macrocosm. There will be no difference. There will be nothing called for him microcosm, macrocosm. It will be only one. So this acceptance without resistance is called Jivan Mukta, Jivan Mukti. Therefore, Krishna says, Iti Matva, with this knowledge, with this objectivity, na sajjate. A jnani remains detached. Now we'll go to the next sloka. प्रकृतेर गुण सम्मूढ़ा है सज्जन्ते गुण कर्मसु तान कृष्ण विधो मंदान कृष्ण विन्न विचालयेत. The अन्वय of this sloka is प्रकृतेः गुण सम्मूढ़ा है सज्जन्ते गुण कर्मसु कृष्ण विद न विचालयेत तान मंदान अकृष्ण विदः. So prakrite guna sammudha, those who are deluded by the modifications of the prakriti, sajjante, become attached, become bound, guna karmasu, to the actions of the body, mind, sense complex. Krishna with, a man of complete knowledge, na vichalayet, should not disturb, should not unsettle, tan, those people, mandan, those immature people, akrishna vidaha, those who are of incomplete knowledge. So, those who are deluded by the modifications of the prakriti, the changes which is happening, they get attached to the actions of the body, mind, sense complex. But a man of complete knowledge should not unsettle those immature people of incomplete knowledge. In fact, this sloka Krishna is re-emphasizing what he had told earlier, what he had advised a Jnani. Isn't it? If you can recall. Na buddhir bedam janayet. Ajnanam karma sangina. Same thing. He is re-emphasizing because this is something once it become, a Jnani, once one understands the higher self, he has to exercise tremendous caution. So we will see the details of this shloka in the next class. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji.
Hari Om, Guruji.
Namaskaram.
Hari Om.
Dhanyawad, Guruji.
Namaskaram.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guruji,
Thank you, Guruji.
I am a little confused
Yeah.
with this Atma. No, is there only one Atma? Like we have got 140 crore population. Amongst all of them, is there only one Atma? Or every individual has got an Atma?
There is only one Atma.
Including animals, birds, and everybody.
Everything, plants, everything, consciousness is one. It is all pervading. Original consciousness. In fact, I had explained this in Tattva Bodha, right? Now, when we say I have an Atma, that is not the original Atma. It is the reflection of the original Atma, which is what making me sentient. As I explained the bulb example, is there a different electricity in the fan, a different electricity in the bulb, a different electricity in the tube light? Electricity is
Same
one.
electricity.
But depending upon the capability of the inert gadgets, whether it is fridge, whether it is AC,
application, basically.
That electricity is, you can, in the terms of Atma, we say it is reflected consciousness. You can say it is a borrowed electricity, which all these things borrow, and they are able to work. When they lose their capacity to borrow this, they will become junk. Similarly, this body-mind-sense complex has got a capacity to borrow from that single consciousness, that much consciousness which is required for us to become sentient. And when that body-mind-sense complex loses the capacity to borrow, just like a filament goes fuse, or a fan capacitor goes, or I don't know about much about electrical gadget, that the body goes. That is how we have to understand consciousness. It is not one consciousness for every body. It is totally one consciousness pervading everything which is there, both animate and inanimate. And in fact, consciousness we say, but when we say consciousness, we have to understand three things: Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Chit actually is consciousness, whereas Sat is existence, pure existence. Ananda is Ananta, limitlessness. So whenever we are talking consciousness, we are talking along with that, we have to understand the existence principle and the limitlessness principle and the consciousness principle, they all go together. So when existence principle is there, we say is. Right? So whenever I say my body is inert, it is a jadam, if you remove the
Correct.
reflected consciousness from the body, it will be a dead body.
Consciousness.
But the dead
Dead
body
body.
is, we say, correct?
Correct.
So everything, whenever we say is, that actually is an expression of the first principle, Sat, pure existence. Everything that exists borrows its existence only from this Brahman, which is Sachidananda. So many objects which are insentient, which are inert in the nature, they borrow one aspect of Brahman, which is Sat aspect, the existence aspect. That is why they exist. We say the rock is, the ocean is, the mud is. But they don't have the capacity to borrow consciousness to become enlightened.
Consciousness.
So they have one, but we have a capacity to borrow both existence as well as consciousness. That is why we are, I say I am, or he is, and also he is alive. So all these things we must be very clear in our mind, that this is what the whole thing is. There is consciousness, or Brahman is one. Therefore, if you understand it that way only, you can make sense when Krishna says Sarvatma. Only when you understand there is no difference between me and my next person or a third person, because we are all sharing or borrowing the same consciousness, then only the understanding that we are all one will come. Otherwise, at the body, mind, sense complex level, we are perceiving everyone different only. As long as you perceive everyone different, you will never ever get that oneness understanding that we are all one. For political rhetoric, you can say, oh, we are all one and all that. But actually speaking, we will never be able to come to that. We will never accept that understanding that we are all one. Only when you move to a different level, that the oneness will appear. That is why Jnani said, when he is disidentifying with the body, mind, sense complex, he understands the oneness of this entire universe. And that is one Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. That is how the whole thing is to be understood. Is that clear?
So when a person dies, then when we say, may his or her Atma be peaceful, then it is incorrect, because Atma is only one.
Yes, it is incorrect. But what to do? See, we have got certain bad, things we have borrowed from Westerners. We say rest in peace.
Western world.
There is nothing
Rest
called,
in peace.
there is no question of Atma is always in peace only. Where is the question of you wishing for rest in peace? That is why in our culture, what we say, let the Atma attain Sadgati, we say.
Correct.
What does that mean? We must understand that very carefully. We say, let the Atma, our prayer is, let the Atma attain Sadgati. Sadgati means what? A good path, a good travel. And that fits in with our understanding of what happens on death. What happens on death? We have seen that only this physical body, this stula sharira, gets destroyed. It goes
destroyed.
Right? Vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya. We have seen that. And the subtle body, Sushma Sharira and the Karana Sharira, they travel to take another body. But how is their travel enabled? It is enabled by this Atma, by the reflected consciousness. Otherwise, they cannot travel. An inert body cannot travel. It has to be powered for travel, isn't it? So the Atma powers the subtle body and the causal body, the Karana Sharira. That enables them to travel to the next body. So our prayer is, we refer to both the subtle body and the Karana Sharira as Atma, because and then we say, let the Atma attain Sadgati. let it travel without any difficulty, let it go and take up another body, or even if it is going to Pitraloka, let that travel also be a very nice travel. Like
Peaceful.
wish everybody, have a safe travel, bon voyage,
Mhm.
and all that. It is just saying
Correct.
two bodies which leave our body, physical body. That is how we have to understand Atma traveling. That's why we don't use, rip and all that, rest in peace, and all we have without mindlessly, thoughtlessly, we use
Could-
those words. There is nothing
No,
called.
could it be because they bury the body, so they say rest in peace? Could that be the reason?
Possibly, because there, for them, there is nothing called Atma and all that. They got only body, mind, sense complex. In
So
fact,
many of them do
mind,
not
sense
believe life
complex
after.
also they don't focus. They only focus on the physical body. So
No, what I'm
possibly,
saying, many of them do not believe life after death.
yes, they do
They
not
don't believe.
after that. Correct. So
So
rest
that
in
could also
peace
be another one of the.
see, they should understand if we apply the mind, where is going to be disturbance once the body is dead? What is going to disturb that body so that you have to wish rest in peace? Question mark. Right?
Correct.
So why do you
Correct.
use that expression rest in peace? You have to use that expression rest in peace as a wish, as a prayer, only if you know that something may actually come and break that peace of the dead body. Even when you are buried underground, something can come and disturb the peace. So we are praying rest in peace.
That will be only when they exhume the body for investigation.
Yeah, but that's not only different thing. That's not what they mean. So these things, rest in peace and all. Actually, if you go little into it, there is no meaning in all those things. Rest in peace and
True.
yeah. You can rest in. They can tell a jnani rest in peace because truly a jnani rests in peace always.
Peace.
That is what it is. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Guru.
Actually-
Thank you very much. Namaskaram.
Thank you.
Actually, I think instead of, a dead body, we cannot say to rest in peace. Actually, a person who is going to bed or going to take rest, have a rest in peace.
Yeah.
That is more.
There is a joke. One lady, she was learning English. Okay. So the husband came home and had his dinner, and he said, I am feeling very tired. I am going to bed. So she said, okay, good night, rest in peace.
Very correct. That is, it's okay.
As you say,
You should rest in peace.
Rest in peace means take rest peacefully.
That is
You're
more
being disturbed by bad dreams and some disturbance and some mosquitoes biting you and all that. That can be a really meaningful wish. Rest in peace for sleeping.
I have even seen some people writing, let your Atma rest in peace.
Yeah.
That's terrible because people don't understand what.
They don't understand, and as Visa, better if we don't keep it to yourself, you don't try to make them understand. It will lead to
Absolutely.
arguments and things like that. They are all, Agyanis. They have to travel a lot more in order to appreciate all these things. That is it.
Correct.
Yeah. Yes, who is that? Some hand is up. I can't see the name.
Krishnan.
Okay, it's a little dark background.
I am sitting on the terrace
Oh,
because
He's resting in peace.
okay.
no, Chennai
Yeah.
Chennai is too hot
Yeah,
and we're not able to. No, I have just one clarification, Guruji.
Yeah.
This is without Atma, there is no body sense complex, body mind complex.
No, body mind complex is there as it's a product of matter, or we can say product of Maya, Prakriti. But Atma makes the body mind sense complex sentient, alive.
No, thing is, there cannot be a body-mind complex without Atma.
How do you say that? I mean, just explain what exactly the. I'm not
No.
able to.
Can there be a body-mind complex, the physical features, existing without Atma?
It can, dead body.
But it has no mind.
Mind and all has traveled out.
So the doer is the mind or is the Atma?
Atma is not the doer. Atma is only a reflecting principle. It's only a enlivening principle, consciousness. The doer, enabled by that consciousness. Now I will ask you a question. You have seen this kids play with this electric cars, battery cars. They play.
Yes.
Now, I'm still in the class. I'll call you in a few minutes. That electric car, that toy car.
Yes.
What makes the toy car move? Is it the battery or is it the wheels? Is it the other parts which are there?
Battery.
You can say only with battery can it move if it doesn't have wheels.
It cannot.
That's it. So when you comparing your body, mind, sense complex and trying to understand the role of Atma, it is like that. So Atma on its own cannot do anything unless there is a body, mind, sense complex which is there for which it can enliven and make it do work. So the Kartrutvam is basically belonging to the body, mind, sense complex. All that Atma does is enables, like the battery in the car, enables this body, mind, sense complex, presses this body, mind, sense complex to do the actions. Atma itself doesn't do any action. So finally, we can say, if you just leave the battery only, it will not do anything. It can't do anything. But battery, without battery also, the car cannot move. So you have to understand that every individual is a combination of ahankara, body, mind, sense complex, and atma, which is the consciousness principle. When they come together, the whole, actions, everything takes place. That's
Okay.
just like in a car, battery, we say battery is a physical thing. But can we see the current? The current.
No, we cannot.
We can't.
Yeah,
Right?
we cannot.
Similarly, Atma, we cannot see. But when we see a car moving, a toy car moving, we know that it is moving because there is a battery. If you remove the battery, there won't be any movement of the car. We know that, right? It's only a matter of cognizance. It's only a matter of knowing. We can't physically, verify it. Right? Similarly, when a body, mind, sense complex is working, doing actions, we have to understand it's a cognitive faculty we have to use to understand that there is this consciousness principle which is making this body, mind, sense complex function. That's how we have to understand it. Yeah?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Hari Om. Any other question?
Guruji,
Yeah. Can't hear.
Guruji, in the previous example, kids play with the remote control cars. So the car has a battery and the wheels and everything, but without someone pressing the remote to go forward or backward, it doesn't do anything. So can we look at Atma as that?
No. It is your prarabdha karma which is that remote.
Okay. Okay.
Understand? It is the power of the
Okay,
karma which makes to do all these actions, depending upon
Okay.
what karmas you have brought to this. That is the remote. That makes this body
Okay.
make sense of action. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Guruji.
Any more questions?
Is it even right to say it's a principle rather than reality? He said, Brahman is a principle. Right?
Yes. It's a principle. Consciousness principle is what we say. Existence principle, consciousness principle, and limit.
Then it'll be declared as an object, right? Vishayam. It'll become
It is
a
not a
Vishayam.
Vishayam. The moment you say it is, obviously we refer to an object, but Brahman is not an object. It is a principle which pervades this and all the objects. You cannot objectify Brahman because what? When I say Aham Brahmasmi, what is I? In English grammar, I is the subject.
Yes.
So when I say I am Brahmasmi, how can Brahma be object? It can be subject only. So you can't objectify Brahman because Brahman is not. What do you want? Normally, whatever our 5 sense faculties perceive, that is what we can objectify. Isn't it?
Yeah. No, what I'm saying is principles also we can also say it's a theory, right? I mean, theories are also principles, right?
No, that is because we are confusing the word principle from a scientific nomenclature point of view.
Okay. Yeah.
A principle is something which exists. For example, when we say gravitation principle, is it a theory?
It's a gravitation principle. It's we see its manifestations.
We see its manifestation.
Yes.
And we understand when Newton or whoever it is saw the apple falling,
yeah,
he understood that there must be something behind this apple falling, why it is not going up, why it is coming down, right? And he gave it a name as gravitation. Correct?
Yeah.
Now it's a principle. We can't see what is gravity is. We can only observe its function. Similarly, Brahman or consciousness, we cannot see it, but we can observe that its function, that it functions in this manner. And for us, we did not break our head because the Vedas, the Vedanta, the Upanishads all talk about this only. The reality of this entire universe, this cosmos. So for us, already somebody, some rishis, some learned people have already got this and they have already provided that to us. All that we have to do is we have to study that and try to relate using our logic whether that makes sense or not. Many times what is said in the Upanishad may not sound to be logical. Our question should be not that it is that we should not challenge it that it is not logical. We have to apply our mind to find out whether it is illogical or not. As long as it is not illogical, that means what? Our own logic is failing us to understand it in fully, but I can't see any illogical thing being said in the Upanishads. That is the test for applying reasoning. In fact, when Brahma Sutra Bhashyam, if you read Adi Shankara, that it is a Nyaya Shastra. Nyaya is logic and reason, right? The whole Upanishads and everything is analyzed on the basis of logic and reason. One of the main points Adi Shankara makes is that as long as something is not illogical, you cannot dismiss it as not logical.
Okay.
So these are all, nuances of, debates and arguments and all that. There are rules for that. Nyaya Shastra. So we have to understand all that. And we can personally see, Different, when we observe a difference between a person and a dead body, what is the difference between the two? Everything remains the same. Eyes are there, ears are there, nose is there. Only thing is breathing is not there. Now, why breathing is not there? Go to the next question. Why breathing is not there? What made the previous, before death, breathing possible? Why suddenly breathing is stopped? Question has to be asked. So there means there was something which was making the breathing possible, which that something is now missing from this whole equation. So breathing has stopped. So we cannot just stop saying that, okay, a person dies when breathing stops. Now, one level basic understanding is that breathing stops, person dies. Why did the breathing stop? Next question should be there. For that, what will be the answer? Then somebody will say, oh, heart failed and this failed and that failed and all that. So we, from a Vedantic point of view, philosophical point of view, we have to keep on questioning. Then we will come to the final answer, which is there is only one consciousness pervading the whole universe. That is how it is. Yeah.
You also mentioned ahankaram is a matter, right?
Ahankara, with reference to the body, mind. See, basically, the world is consisting of two things. One is matter, which is material, right? And another is Atma, consciousness. There are only two things. So everything, including this body, mind, sense complex, which we are calling ahankara, we are giving a name for this body, mind, sense complex as ahankara because we take ourselves to be the aham karta. That is why ahankara means aham karta. Iti ahankara. I am the doer. So because we take ourselves as the doer, we are giving it a name as ahankara. We will not, it's the same thing with the tree also. Tree also is a jadam. It's a product of matter. Correct? It is also blessed by consciousness. That is why the tree grows and gives fruits and all that. But tree, we don't call it ahankara. We will only call our body, mind, sense complex as ahankara. So ahankara refers in this context, ahankara also refers in Dharmasastra context as ego. Right?
Yeah.
So that ego also is that I notion, right? The lower I notion rather. That also more or less fits into that, but slight difference is there. So here the body, mind, sense complex is called ahankara. And that is powered or blessed by Atma. That is why it is working. That is why it is able to do all actions which the body, mind, sense complex does.
So is it the Jada Sharira which is?
Yeah, Jada
ahankara?
Sharira. Actually,
Is
our original nature is a dead body.
yeah, and then is powered by the juice.
Now it is powered by the Atma, so we become alive. When the Atma power stops, we again become dead. That is how we have to understand. Basically, we are a dead body. I mean, not even walking also is because of the consciousness only.
And one can also say that due to wear and tear of this Jada Sharira, it's incapable of accepting Brahman, the Atma, and then continue its functioning.
You see, that again is a question whether it is due to wear and tear of a Jada Sharira. That is only relating to the old age, you can say. But we see young people, even small children born or dead. Where is the wear and tear question there? Isn't it? So
some anomaly in the Jada Sharira. Some anomaly, I'm saying, some anomaly.
Not anomaly. That is why the Shastra has got an answer. It is prarabdha karma.
True, yeah.
Because this body, mind, sense complex, you have taken a birth for fulfilling, for exhausting certain portion of the karmas that you have earned in the previous births. Whether it's good karma or bad karma. Once that is done, then finished. That karma is over. Adi Shankara, we say that 32 years he actually attained samadhi. Correct? Now that was the prarabdha karma left from the previous births for Adi Shankara. 32 years came, finished. So It is not wear and tear that we cannot say. It is just prarabdha karma ending, which we don't know anything about. We can't see whatever prarabdha karma is. That is how it is.
Okay. Thank you, Guruji.
Okay, Hari Om. Thank you all very much. We'll meet in the next class. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.
Dhanyavada. Thank you.